Good morning, my friends. And so we come to the last day of Advent, also known as Christmas Eve, for those of us who do celebrate Christmas. This is a very special time of year, a time of hope and love and peace and joy that are celebrated each week of Advent, leading up to the birth of Jesus, who is to become a very bright light in this world, God incarnate as one just like us. Every year we come to hear the Christmas story that is so familiar. It never changes, and we count on that. Every year, Mary and Joseph are pregnant and unmarried. The Emperor Augustus issues a decree of taxation. Mary and Joseph go to Bethlehem. There's no room at the inn. Mary gives birth to Jesus and places him in a manger. The angel announces this good news to the shepherds, and they come and see this thing that has happened. Mary treasures and ponders the words of the shepherds, and they return to their fields. It's likely that you know the story as well as I do. I'd like to take this time with you today to reflect on the images and metaphors and meaning for us today that tell the story behind the story. So let us be seated, adjusting your body in a way that's comfortable and so that your back is supported and reasonably straight. Your hands resting in your lap, your eyes, your jaw relaxed, loose, your feet flat on the floor. With every meditation, we come to this place, a place that is becoming as familiar to us as the Christmas story itself. And turn your awareness now to the sensation of breathing in your belly or in your chest. And just notice how that breath comes in and goes out, breathing gently, and with each out-breath, allowing your body to get heavier and heavier as you empty, completely empty all the breath out of your body, and notice how the next breath comes in after that, breathing quietly. In the year behind us that has been so turbulent, with racial tension, homeschooling, and all the strains of loss brought on by the coronavirus, we long for some light, hope, peace, joy, and love to rise again in us and in the world around us. And in this way, embracing the meaning of Advent becomes more important than ever. Can we be that star that shone so brightly and brought light over the stable where Jesus was born, to the places that are dark and in need of hope in our own world right now? Sometimes it seems to me that I'm just too small to really matter in my efforts. And then I'm reminded of the words of Ken Nurburn, who wrote the little book, Make Me an Instrument of Your Peace. Kent says, "We are not saints, nor are we heroes. Our lives are lived in the quiet corners of the ordinary. We build tiny hearth fires, sometimes barely strong enough to give off warmth. But to the person lost in the darkness, our tiny flame may be the road to safety, the pathway to hope, or the light that illuminates a different path. It is not given to us to know who is lost in the darkness that surrounds us, or even if our light is seen. We can only know that against even the smallest of lights, darkness cannot stand." In the Christmas story, the light of God incarnate in Jesus took place in a dark and smelly stable with animals, Joseph standing beside Mary, Mary wrapping the child in swaddling clothes to keep him warm. It was kind of an ugly situation, maybe not seeming fit for the birth. And so what is the lesson for us then in this Christmas story about the light disperses the darkness? And so perhaps the lesson for us, as Jim Finley puts it, is to teach us about how God is present in our daily life. That there was no room in the inn, but God came anyway. The ugliness of the situation did not stop God from being born into this world. Sometimes during these pandemic days, it can seem like there's no room at the inn. The world is so very complicated right now. To know this in our hearts, we need silence of patience and humility and simplicity that can be found in mindfulness practice and reflections on this story and how God is being born into our own hearts. And from our hearts, we can do our best to live with love, peace, and integrity in a complicated world. And maybe this is why we return to the Christmas story every year. We want to know that despite our changing world and all that has happened in the past year, that the light of our hearts is still shining in the darkness. Hope, strength, and courage are born anew. The light of Christmas is happening as we stand before it this Christmas Eve in anticipation that brings together all of the anticipation of Advent and waiting for the light in the darkness and for ways in which we ourselves can be a part of that light that shines on the path that may bring others to it. I don't know how that happens. I only know that it does happen. That in the midst of darkness and complicated changes in our lives, suddenly the light will shine through, even if for just a moment. And so I invite you in these next few minutes to reflect on a few questions that relate the Christmas story to our own personal story and journey into the heart and generosity of God that first came to light in the love and joy that came into that dark and smelly stable full of love. Can you recall a time in your own life when hope, strength, and courage were born anew in you, just when you thought it couldn't be? Who are the people, the Josephs, that have accompanied, protected, and cared for you in this life, and even today? Have you ever had someone show up in your life and say or do exactly what you needed, announce to you good news when you needed it the most? And what are you cradling and cherishing in your own heart tonight that you know beyond a doubt is a gift from God? The facts of the Christmas story are just the starting point. Every year, even this one, the light in the Christmas story are written anew in us using the circumstances of our lives. The reality of Christmas, God with us, the light of Emmanuel, Jesus, which is the light of love and hope in every one of us, is always happening, moment by moment. Take your mindfulness practice into our coming year, my friends. Take it into Christmas Day with you. Notice the gifts of God. Notice the joy in a child's face and the joy that resonates in you because of that light. Go out, my friends, and be a light. And Merry Christmas. Namaste. Amen.